The frog spawn is developing. Each of those little round blobs is turning into a little sort of oblong blob with a head. So they're turning into tadpoles. And very soon the jelly will become quite liquid and they'll be able to push their way out into the pond and they'll be swimming freely.
Hello, Shemai. Welcome to my wild Welsh garden. Well, I'm not in my garden today because it's horribly cold and wet and I just don't want to go out there at all. Okay, so every so often I put my trail cam out just to check for rats because I can't stop them coming into the garden, but I can discourage them from living here. And then, so if I do catch a rat on the camera, then I'm just maybe a bit careful with the bird seed clearing up until I find out whether it's resident or not. I haven't actually caught a rat on camera for a long time, but I put it out on Saturday night just to check. And I didn't catch a rat on the camera then either, but I did see a hedgehog. So I thought, oh, well, the hedgehogs have woken up early. And I thought I would take this opportunity to share with you what I do for hedgehogs in my garden. And if you keep watching, you'll see some real, well, not exactly live, but some real recorded hedgehog action. Well, there's three important things that hedgehogs need. And the first is access. They have to be able to get into the garden and out again. So one of the problems with this garden is that it's surrounded by this breeze block wall. Down there, there's a hole in the wall, big enough for a hedgehog to get through. Also, just right for frogs and next to the pond as well. There's a wooden fence in this area here because this is where the old sheds were that I demolished and put a fence up. But there's quite a big hole underneath the fence there where the rats used to come in, but now the hedgehog can come in, and also frogs, I hope, and into the new pond. The next important thing for hedgehogs is some sort of shelter. During the day, when hedgehogs are sleeping, they sleep in sort of shelters or nests, and these vary according to the time of year. During the autumn and the spring and over the winter, they tend to be more sort of permanent, so like under a shed or under the decking or under piles of wood and things like that. In the summer, they have much more temporary nests. I had one year that made a nest under a rhubarb leaf. Several years ago now, I did make a hedgehog house for a hedgehog to spend the winter in if he wanted to. And I've even managed to find the pictures that I took while I was making it. So I started off with one layer of bricks and then I put another layer on and made a sort of little porch for him to get in. And then I filled the inside with some nice dry leaves and then I put a roof on the top and then I disguised it and camouflaged it with twigs and sticks and more leaves. And then just after I made it, a hedgehog did decide to spend the winter there, which was really lovely, but I'm afraid he hasn't done since. The hedgehog house is tucked behind the greenhouse up here, in a quiet place of the garden where nobody ever comes. The next important thing for hedgehogs in your garden is food. Well, the best food is natural food, and then they can pick and choose what they eat and they get a balanced diet. So the very best thing that you can do for your hedgehogs is just not to tidy your garden. Make sure that there are lots of piles of leaves and places where invertebrates can live, because that's what the hedgehogs eat. They eat all sorts of slugs and worms and beetles and other creepy crawlies. Make log piles around the place and put piles of sticks and prunings in corners and just let the leaves pile up where the wind blows them, and the hedgehog will have a lovely time rooting through them. And then, as well as making sure that there's plenty of natural food in your garden, it's really great fun to feed them in a hedgehog cafe. We've come into the polytunnel where I've been doing a bit of tidying up, ready for the new growing season, because this is where I keep the hedgehog cafe over the winter while the hedgehog is hibernating. It's basically an old wooden box with a hole in the front so the hedgehog can get in, and inside I put some dried cat food. And when I turn it upside down, it begins to look quite complicated. But it's really just a wooden box, and into the side of the box, the front of the box, I cut a hole which is 13 centimetres by 13 centimetres, which is just the right size apparently for a hedgehog to get through. And to begin with, there was none of this stuff inside. It was just an empty box, and I put the food in there. Well, of course, all the local cats just went straight in and ate all the food, and the hedgehog didn't get any. So I did a bit of research, and various people have had exactly the same problem, and they said that really cats don't like it if they can't turn round. So you need to make a space within the box which is too small for a cat to turn round. So this was the first piece that I put in across here, and it's just a piece of plywood, and in it I've cut a hole which is about 13 by 13, something like that. And this side is where I put the hedgehog food, thinking that a cat wouldn't be able to come through there, into there, and turn round. Well, I do have a cat, and I call him Houdini Cat, not because he gets out of everywhere, but he gets into everything. And he managed to get in and turn round and come back out again. So I did a little bit more research, and people said, well, you need to make it complicated for the cat to get in. So I made this little thing here. So he had to go in here and along here and in here and round here and through there and get to the hedgehog food. And he still managed to get in and get the food. So I did a little bit more research, and it was suggested that you made a tunnel. So I made a tunnel, and I put this on the front. And I'll just turn it back up the right way, and then you can get more of an idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, so there's the tunnel. So this cat has to scutch right down and sort of squish himself into there, go into here, through the sort of zigzag, through into the back there, and get to the food there. And he still managed to do it. And I thought, how on earth am I going to keep this cat out of this box? And then I put bricks in front. So I put a couple of bricks here, and that foxed him, because he has to sort of lie very flat on the ground and sort of slide in that way. And of course, if there's bricks there, he can't do it, but the hedgehog can still get it. But hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate that soon. Oh, and in addition to all that, I also put a bit of roofing on the top to just preserve its life a little bit. Okay, so that's the Hedgehog Cafe. And there is the Hedgehog Cafe in situ, in the corner by the bird table. And here I have just an old cat bowl full of actually old cat foods left over from last year. I did think that the fishy stuff was poisonous to hedgehogs, but apparently not. When I said this in a previous video, one of the people who watches my video said that it isn't actually poisonous, they just don't like the taste, so they don't eat it. So I think this is the one with vegetables and chicken. So I just put that under there, and then put the box down. And then I put a brick on the entrance, because the cat will have a go at trying to lift it up, and I'm not very good at DIY, and he probably would be able to break it off. I did forget to say that my first attempt at a hedgehog cafe was made out of plastic. It was one of those plastic storage boxes. Well, of course, the cat's just tipped it straight over. And then there's some water for the hedgehog. I don't often see him
drinking it, but he does walk through it, whereas the cat doesn't want to walk through it. So it does. Well, it's another obstacle for the cat to get through, to get actually into the hedgehog cafe. And then this is the trail cam, which I just put on the floor here, pretty much facing the hedgehog box, which is over there. So we'll see what it films during the night. So here we are next morning. We'll see if the hedgehogs have eaten their food. Oh yes, not all of it, but considerably less than I put in last night. Now this worries me a bit. There's a little bit of ice on hedgehog water, which makes me a little bit concerned for my frog spawn. So let's go. No ice on the pond. So, a bit of ice on the frog spawn. Oh dear. Most of it's underwater, so let's hope it's going to be okay. So let's see what got caught on the trail cam. So here's Houdini cat. When I first saw him, I thought he was a Manx cat because he doesn't have a tail, but he isn't. I think Manx cats are quite big, and he's only a very small cat. So he's basically just a small cat without a tail. But he can't get in, and I think he remembers from last year. So he just goes off on his wanderings. But here's the hedgehog, trundling around. He does spend quite a bit of time underneath the bird table. I think he's eating little bits of seeds and nuts that the birds have dropped. But during the night, a great army of slugs come out to feed on what the birds have dropped. Some quite big slugs, but lots of little tiny slugs. So I think he's feeding on those as well. And when I first saw this, I thought, oh, he's gone to sleep. He's having a little sleep in the middle of the yard. But that's not the reason at all. It's actually a different hedgehog. And here's hedgehog number 1, who's trying to get rid of him. So here's hedgehog number 2's unravelled and is just trundling off again. And then here's hedgehog number 1, trying to get him to move. And then he comes and has another go at him. Rolls him all the way off camera and then rolls him all the way back again. Get out of my garden. Get away from my food. I haven't actually seen hedgehog number 2 since then. But here's number 1 again, heading into the cafe. And this is the following night when it was really very wet. Just showing him going into the cafe, spending more time there when it's raining. Yes, I don't think he likes the rain much. He certainly doesn't hang around outside. And then morning comes and it's the bird's turn. There's a robin first, and then a dunnock, and then a pied wagtail, and a grey wagtail.
and another pied wagtail, and the sparrows. So thanks for watching the video. Me and my hedgehog, or should I say hedgehogs. Well, it's the 1st of March today. It's St David's Day, so happy St David's Day, everybody. Dydd Gôl Dewi Hapus pawb. I do have to say, I am not sorry to see the back of February. We have had 3 times our normal February rainfall, and given that we normally have quite a lot of rain anyway, yeah, we have had an awful lot of rain. Well, it's the first day of the meteorological spring today, so I'm just hoping that it's onwards and upwards from here. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like it. Please subscribe to the channel if you're interested in following my adventures wilding my garden. And hopefully lots more exciting things to show you that happen as the garden begins to wake up and the wildlife begins to return. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Hwyl fawr.